Luke Johnson with The Advocate hops on to talk New Orleans Saints. Luke, how are you today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke, obviously the Saints put up a stinker on Monday night, right? I mean, the Packers beat them 34-0, was not a competitive football game. After a loss like this, somebody like you who covers this team all the time, can you think of any positives to take away from this game?
No, no positives. I mean, like, I guess you could say, like, you get a longer look at some of the young guys, but like, it is such a bad situation a lot of those guys are dropped into, where I just don't know, like somebody like Spencer Rattler, for instance, like what can you even take away from that game? Yeah, you see he was playing without Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Taysom Hill. Eric McCoy was lost in the first series of the game. It was just like, he was playing with the JV Saints against a really, really good football team. Like, what can you take away from that? No positives whatsoever to take away from that. Not even like, the positive from the negative. Like, it's just something they need to completely flush and forget about, frankly.
So speaking of Spencer Rattler, what do you think his future is here in New Orleans? Because, we see him, sometimes he makes great plays, sometimes he makes head-scratcher plays, but to your point, he's a rookie and he doesn't have much help out there. I mean, how do you think this team views him as far as his future in New Orleans?
I mean, I think about the same way they viewed him going into the season, right? He's got a lot of talent. There's stuff that you see even in these games where his performance has really lagged. There's some traits that you see that you're really excited about. But he's started 4 games, and every one of those 4 games, he's been in like kind of a crap situation just in terms of who's around him. And I don't think you can really look at those games and make a definitive decision that like he can never be the guy. So yeah, really, he probably shouldn't have been in this situation in the first place. Where you're really relying on him to go out and win games. And I think that you just use this offseason to continue to develop the positive stuff and try to have him learn from the negative stuff. And hopefully the next time he's in this situation where he has to play, he's surrounded by like a legitimate first-team NFL starting offense.
You were talking earlier, Luke Johnson joining us right now. You were talking earlier about maybe the only positive is like, hey, we get to see some of these young guys play. One of those guys that everybody was excited about was Kendre Miller because Alvin Kamara was out. You got to see finally a healthy Kendre Miller as the lead back. He has 8 carries for 15 yards. And, a lot of that's on the offensive line. Some of you could put on him. And what did you kind of make of his performance?
Yeah, I wish he saw more. The explanation we were given after the game is that, they were in their 2-minute offense for much of the second half. But, I get that to a respect. It kind of feels like a little bit of we don't want to throw a young player under the bus who's already kind of been thrown under it and run over a couple times this year. I feel like there had to have been a different reason he wasn't on the field because this team's not going anywhere. Even if you're running your 2-minute offense, you had no chance of winning that game. So just see what you got in the player. I was disappointed we didn't get to see more of him because, we've only really seen him be like the feature back one time. That was week 18 of last year, and he looked really, really good. Obviously he's missed so much time with injury. You just want to see more of him out on the field. So I definitely came away disappointed with that, not just because of the statistical line, but it was because we just didn't get to see much of him.
Luke, I was looking for positives as well after this game, and if I found one, it might be Demario Davis, and not necessarily the game he had. I mean, he did lead you in tackles with 10. He had a tackle for a loss, sure, but last week he led you in tackles again with 14. He had a sack. At 35 years old, I watched Demario Davis on this defense. He's made his money. He's 35. He's on a team that is going nowhere this season. It'd be very easy for a guy like him, Kamara, Cam Jordan, all those guys to mail it in. Demario Davis still playing at a high level. I mean, where do you think he ranks now among Saints all-time greats?
I mean, pretty far up there. Let's see. He's been here since 2018, so this is his 7th season with the Saints. I think he's topped 100 tackles in every single season. He's made all pros. Like he is absolutely without a doubt a Saints Hall of Famer, and I think he's got a borderline NFL Hall of Fame chance. Yeah, he's one of the best defenders they've ever had, and here certainly since the Dome Patrol days. Yeah, they went a long time with really just bad linebacker play here. So yeah, he ranks up there, like in the all-time annals. Right up there with guys like Sam Mills. Is some of the best defensive players ever wear a Saints uniform. I am going to be curious to see what happens after this year, though. Like he's playing at a high level, but he's not playing at like the Demario Davis level that we know.
Yeah.
There's just been a little bit of slippage in his game, and I'm curious if he still wants to play. And if he still wants to play, if he's going to get an opportunity to continue doing it here. I think this organization has to make some really tough decisions this offseason. And you just wonder if like they want to continue rolling the guys like Cam and Tyron and Demario out there, even though they're still, I think capable NFL football players. Demario's case still a very good NFL football player. Or if they want to, kind of give into this youth movement, which they've been delaying for a long time. It's really an interesting situation for them, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Speaking of right there into the next one, you're talking about Davis's slippage in play a little bit and what the future is going to look like. Luke, is there a group of young guys you would say, hey, this is the core group of guys for the future on the Saints defense?
Yeah, I think really the only way you could look at it is in the secondary, right? They're very young in the secondary outside of Tyron. Alontae Taylor, you've got Kool-Aid McKinstry. Both of them are under contract for next season. Paulson Adebo is a free agent, or he's going to be a free agent. And he might have, instead of playing himself out of New Orleans, because of his injury, he might be available to come back and sign a short-term kind of prove-it deal off that injury. I think they're still young there, but like everywhere else, I think they could probably use like an infusion of young talent on this roster. Frankly, that goes for the offensive side of the ball too. Like they've got to get young playmakers pretty much everywhere except for the secondary.
Let's shift from roster of the future to head coach of the future. Seems like every week a new coaching job people are suspecting will come open, where the Saints rank on the list of like vacant head coaching jobs. As far as Darren Rizzi goes, how realistic of a shot do you think he has to be the full-time guy next season?
Yeah, if I were like handicapping it at like a percentage chance, I don't know, like 10 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
We had a conversation. I made a couple of my colleagues in the media corps just like about whether the Packers loss just effectively ended his candidacy, and I don't think it did. Like he's going to get an interview regardless, but like I don't think that one really really bad loss is like them just saying like, well, this guy obviously can't do it. We've seen Hall of Fame coaches get have their teams just get blown out before. Like, I don't think you can look at one individual game. It's got to be the body of work. And I still think the body of work has been good enough to merit him being a legitimate candidate. But I think there might be some fatigue in this organization for like the way things have gone for a long time. You remove a future Hall of Fame coach and a future Hall of Fame quarterback from the equation and Drew Brees and Sean Payton, and it hasn't looked good. And maybe they just want to like rip that Band-Aid off and go with a completely new direction. I think that probably hurts Rizzy's chances. I think the whole like idea of interim coaches taking over as head coaches and failing generally, it probably doesn't help Rizzy's chances. I think he should be a candidate. I think he will be interviewed. I think there is a small chance that he gets a job, but I think he's got to add to that body of work in these next two games and not let kind of that really, really bad loss in Green Bay turn into, more chances to knock his candidacy.
Speaking of these last few games, you have your next game is against the Raiders, who certainly have their struggles as well. And then you close it out with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm not even talking win-loss here, Luke. Like, what are some things you want to see during these last few games?
I want to see like some of these young guys play and play well. Like I said, this is just a roster that has a really desperate need for cheap young talent. Guys who they've drafted and developed, and they're getting this chance now. They show you can do it against a team like the Raiders. Show you can do it against a team like the Bucks, who they're not like these world beaters. I think you can go out there and have success against a team like that. Like, they really need that so bad in this organization, and these guys haven't really shown it, despite having a lot of chances this year because of all the injuries the Saints have dealt with. So, I want to see them get out there and get on the field and show they can be it. Otherwise, the Saints have a lot of work to do on this roster.
All right, Luke, I have kept you long enough. Thank you so much for hopping on with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Talk to you later.
Luke Johnson right there covers the Saints for The Advocate. I agree with him. I don't think Darren Rizzi gets this job, and he said he doesn't believe that that Packers loss kind of ended things for Darren Rizzi. I do. And again, not because of Darren Rizzi or anything he did in particular. You can kind of see that interim bump that they call it, that spark you get when you make a coaching change, is effectively gone. It is out the window. What I wanted to see was, can this team continue to get better under Darren Rizzi? First 3 or 4 weeks, they looked really good. You've kind of seen it fizzle and fall by the wayside again. So I agree. I don't think that Darren Rizzi will be the full-time head coach.
Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.